I know that this video is not about anime and manga, which is normally what my channel revolves around, but this that happened today is something that honestly really irks me, and as someone that is very passionate about, let's say, Helldivers and a few other things I want to mention in this video, I felt like I just wanted to speak out about this as just a general fan of these said things that's within this video that obviously has been just mishandled to such an extreme level that it makes me just upset. And I think that I'm not alone in this regard, just seeing the overall community reaction today. And when you take a look at just like what's happening here with Helldivers and you go to the store page, it really does just speak for itself, going from a game that had basically overwhelmingly positive to mixed reviews. Just the overall catastrophe of this, handling of Helldivers 2 just cannot be stated enough. But let's get into the beginning of all of this. To the overall censorship of Tifa with a game that was out years ago, and then they had a random patch come out that censored Cowboy Tifa, to stuff with, Stellar Blade censoring an outfit on the day one patch, and even though the developers a few days prior said the game would be completely uncensored, to them even censoring a release on, Sony PlayStation Tsukihime, and then it's going to be releasing uncensored on Nintendo Switch, which, let's be honest, is known as a console pretty much for kids. Somehow they get the uncensored content, and then now we have the stuff with basically Helldivers with a community manager just straight up, oh man, the damage control is insane. To just what Sony is doing, trying to enforce here, it's crazy. So let's get into all of this. Let's talk about what's happened here and really get to the bottom of this, because I'm very passionate about Helldivers, and I think that I need to show this. Let's go to my library real quick and look at this. I have over 107 hours in this game. Now, obviously, to other gamers out there, they probably have hundreds upon hundreds of hours already into this game, but at the current time of me recording this video, I'm level 51, okay? I pretty much have unlocked almost everything, and, I beat, the highest difficulty Helldive mode with a bunch of friends. It's a fun game. Once again, over 100 hours. And, I mean, that's a good amount of time to really get an impression of a game, and it kind of shows if you enjoy it or not. And I've dedicated a lot of time. And seeing this announcement come out earlier today, it legitimately just threw away all that goodwill that Helldivers has built up for these last few months. And I want to speak out about this, because Helldivers as a game was something that I didn't expect to enjoy as much as I did. I'm going to be blunt here. I never watched Starship Troopers before basically this game came out. When it came out, my friends were like, you got to go watch and understand the parody of this. I watched it. I enjoyed Starship Troopers. And, I really loved this game. It was the first time in a very long time, in years, that I sat down and I enjoyed a shooter game. Just a shooter game, PvE shooter game or whatever, or just a multiplayer shooter game. It's been a long time. I mean, you can look at my games here on the left. I mostly play RPGs, roguelikes, just single-player games, maybe a potential MOBA, but overall, I play just, typical games that are not really a part of the shooter genre. And this game really stood out to me, and I think everybody that played this game agreed that, Helldivers was a game that, had a lot of goodwill, to the way they even handled microtransactions, to how they gave so much free content out with every single update and armor and all of that. It was just a game that legitimately blew me away with just how a company handled it. It felt like I traveled back in time to the early, or the late 2000s era, for instance, 2007, 8, and 9, when DLC was kind of more or less just with a patch instead of buying a DLC, and more or less armor upgrades and weapons were just added with a patch that you got just for playing the game, not for, spending money through credit card or debit card. And it was just a very warm feeling being able to play a game like that. Playing Helldivers, when I log in and there's an update for the game, I was like, holy crap, there's gonna be new content, probably new enemies, etc. It made me incredibly excited to play this game. And so, after all of this, after months of goodwill, and obviously at this point in time, if you're someone that plays games, you probably have seen memes or you've seen conversation about Helldivers. It's definitely blown up in popularity. Some would even say that Helldivers 2, until today, probably was potentially in the running for becoming Game of the Year. Like, it was definitely up there, maybe for becoming Game of the Year for 2024, just because of how good its gameplay is. And despite this announcement that obviously came out today, which I'll talk about in a second, I know I have a lot that's going on besides just what the main focus of the video is. I think that, despite everything that happened here, at the end of the day, Helldivers as a game is fundamentally an amazing game. It's so fun. It is absolutely incredible, and I cannot sing the praises of just how fun the game is, despite everything. And it pains me to sit down and see this news when I woke up this morning on what Sony has done to Helldivers 2. So let's get into that. So what makes all of this relevant to the Tifa censorship, to the Stellar Blade censorship, to what happened with Tsukihime, to now this stuff here with basically Helldivers? It all links back to Sony, the owner of, as we guessed it, the PlayStation. But also, they have slowly infiltrated themselves into owning pretty much a huge portion of anime as well in recent times. Let's think about how they own Crunchyroll, how they own Funimation, how they own Rightstuf. They own a good chunk of basically anime and manga in this day and age now. They have a monopoly. I've talked about this. And seeing how they're handling their gaming segment of, like, their company, I can not imagine the damage that they're going to do to just anime in general in the future, just with what they're doing here already. And let's talk about what's actually happening here with Helldivers. Now, there's probably been already hundreds of videos that have discussed this topic, and obviously, if you're clicking on this video and you're watching it to this point, you're watching it to hear my thoughts on this situation and how I feel. I feel, as a fan of Helldivers 2, I feel betrayed. I legitimately do feel betrayed as a fan and feel like, you know, all that goodwill that was built up just was thrown into the dumpster, not by the devs, but by Sony themselves. It's like they literally ruined a game that had so much potential to be a game that would be a staple in my gaming catalog for years to come. And now, at this point, with this announcement, it makes me want to just really request a refund for this game, which, once again, I have over 100 hours into this game, and I love it. I don't hate this game, but I fundamentally, as someone that is a consumer, someone that bought this product, this announcement here makes me just instantly want to file for a refund. And it makes a lot of sense why the reviews and a lot of people are filing for refunds today just because of this announcement. So let's actually finally dive into this. So this announcement that came out today was pretty much the main devs and the community of Helldivers 2 announcing that, you know, due to technical limitations at the launch of So let's get right into this. So this came out earlier this morning to where the Helldivers team announced that due to technical limitations when the game first launched, they were not able to release basically the linking of the Sony PSN platform with the PC platform on Steam. And so it was basically just an optional thing that you didn't have to do. For instance, you didn't need a PlayStation account to be able to play Helldivers on PC, aka Steam. And, you know, there's been months. It's obviously this game here. Let's take a look here when it actually released just so I can have a cross comparison. This game released back in February of this year, and obviously, at the time of me recording this and when this news broke out, it's now May. So it's been about, 3 months now. It's been way over 3 months at this point. And, when people bought this game, obviously, they were not required to have a PlayStation account. I mean, it does say here, if you actually look at it, like, it says it right here with this little box that, it requires a third-party account. It does say it here. And I believe, according to what people have said, it's always been here. But let's just be completely blunt. As individuals that look at games and let's say we go to Steam and we look at new games and stuff, especially something that's popular, the first thing we're going to look at is probably these images. We're going to look at these images. We're going to probably see, what genres it is, what studio, the reviews, etc. And you're going to scroll down. You're going to probably look at the DLC, how much it is, see whoever friends are playing this. You're going to scroll down. You're going to see this description, and then you're going to look at the reviews. That's what you're going to see. Most people are going to completely just not even look at what's going on here on the right side. They're not. And this is such a small little box that you're going to overlook it. You're not going to notice it. Let's just be completely blunt here. The average individual is not going to look at this box on the right. It's the truth. That's exactly what's going to happen. I know I didn't. And basically, that is why the community is just having such a reaction today, is because when this released, you didn't need a Sony account. And to kind of put in perspective the part of the drama is that you now need, thanks to the update that came out, new players by May 6th will need to have a PSN account to be able to launch Helldivers 2. If you're a new player, at the end of the day, this is not going to matter as much as those that are pre-existing players, which they talk about. Basically, you need to log in from May 30th, basically, to be able to continue playing Helldivers 2. Now, at the end of the day, people will be quick to say, just make a PlayStation account. Okay, it's free to make an account. But there's a fundamental problem with that people have been discussing all day, and you've probably heard people talk about. And that is the fact that PlayStation, in general, doesn't have access to every single country in the world. There's many countries around this world that PlayStation is just not in. For instance, you cannot make a PSN account in that said country because they just don't offer those services. However, when it comes to these countries, Steam is pretty much almost universal to where everyone can have a Steam account and be able to buy these games on their platform. And so you have people, let's say, in the Philippines that buy Helldivers 2, they play it on PC, they play this game, they enjoy this game, and, now they get this information that, oh, you now need a PSN account, and if you don't have a PSN account, you will lose access to your game. That's what they say. And basically, FYI, you can't make a PSN account in the Philippines. They don't offer that service. So, for instance, if you're in the Philippines, and, you have Helldivers 2, and you don't do some form of workaround or have a friend in another country, etc., you're not going to be able to play the game you already spent money on. That's what's going to happen. You're going to lose access to a game after you've already had it basically for 3 months. You're no longer going to be able to play this said game. Now, once again, people will be quick to say just make, an account and put it in a different country. But what people don't understand is that it does break TOS, terms of service, for Sony to do that. And there has been records of people getting banned for doing that. And one of the big fundamental reasons why Sony is doing this type of stuff is because they want to incorporate people into their service where they can ban you. And just a few days ago, FYI, if you don't know, there was a patent that was filed by Sony on April 30th saying that they were going to be testing a new biometric AI, program to be able to actually read your data, so to speak, to be able to ban you without someone sending in a user report saying, you were doing some illegal activity, so to speak. So they are using these new programs to be able to collect data and be able to ban you. And that's pretty much what they want to do, is that they want full 100% control over Helldivers 2, that if you do anything, they're going to just straight up ban you. And so even if you're on PC, you're banned. You will no longer have access to that game, even if you bought it on Steam. And it's pretty wild, honestly. It's a really wild turn of events, and it's just you have that, but you also have people that are going to just straight up lose access to the game. For instance, if you live in a country that does not have PlayStation support, but you have Helldivers 2 and you've been playing it on Steam, you will no longer have access to that. And VPNs as well are counted kind of as a cheating program to a lot of VPNs, especially the controversial, anti-cheat program that, is with Helldivers 2 already, it's going to cause a lot of issues. So if you're trying to use a VPN to be in a different country to be able to play said Helldivers 2 with a PSN account, that's still not going to work. So there's a lot of things here that really just destroys the goodwill that has been built up for a while now for this game, and it really irks me. I don't know what is going on at Sony, what they're doing here, but all these constant things that's been happening in the span of these past few months, like the Tifa stuff with Final Fantasy, to Stellar Blade, to this now with this censorship and all that, and releasing on Nintendo uncensored, even though Nintendo's looked at more as the kid console. It's wild to me. I don't know what the big wigs at top are doing, but this is legitimately insanity to me. They are really ruining their public image. I feel like at this point in time, most people that, are in the gaming community are becoming increasingly aware of just how anti-consumer and toxic Sony has been in these last few months with just all these things in regard. Changing games on release, broken promises, and all that. It's legitimately wild stuff, and I feel like Sony is just building such a bad rep at this point that they can only go so far to where people will completely swear off their entire console and catalog. But the problem is that Sony owns so much, and it's a problem too, which gets back into the relevancy of anime and manga for my channel, is that Sony owns a monopoly on anime, especially in the West. They do. And the fact that they're doing all this crusty stuff with these games and all that, that I've just seen in just these past few months alone, makes me very worried for the future of anime. Like, it really makes me worried about the anime that is under their belt, like the censorship that's going to be had, etc. Because just seeing this alone is insanity to me. Makes me very sad because I'm very passionate about gaming. When I'm not, let's say, watching anime or reading manga, etc., or just, trolling, etc., just on Twitter, etc., just posting random posts and stuff, I'm playing a game. I'll either be playing, let's say, like I said, Helldivers here that's in my catalog, or playing Baldur's Gate. I mean, look at my hours in Baldur's Gate. I think it speaks for itself. It's just like, when I'm not playing certain games, etc., I'm doing stuff like watching anime, but I love gaming. Gaming is one of my favorite things to do, and the fact that, Sony has been doing all this crusty stuff as late just makes me very sad to see. But, yeah, I wanted to talk about this. I'm very passionate about this subject. I know not many people will care about this video because it's not anime and manga related. I mean, to an extent, it kind of is, since it's related to Sony, but obviously that's a bit of a stretch. Yeah, but, I wanted to talk about this. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy my content and you want more of this type of content, do leave me a like and let me know in the comments below. But with that, be safe, stay healthy, Chibi out.